States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll open up with public comment. Ed, I didn't get you on the agenda.
Yeah, that'll work. I got a call again tomorrow morning about fire danger and fire restrictions. Our fire danger has dropped drastically here in this little section today, so. Probably depends on how the weather's been spread. We still may be looking at fire or first stage regulations. Which would be no smoking outdoors unless you're in a cleared area and that kind of stuff. But if you got a burn permit, you can still do that as long as everybody knows what's going on, so. That's one of the main reasons why I want to leave it open, because I do have some farmers that are trying to burn ditches. So I want to leave the fire permits open. Everybody that does it is good about watching what they're doing, so. So I imagine if they have a restriction put on, they'll probably set it for Friday, and if need be, I'll let you guys know, and then we can put it on the agenda for next Monday or whatever, just do it good for a resolution, so. But we're not in any hurry right now, that's for sure. So, that's all I got.
Thanks, Ed. Any other public comment? Seeing now, you just go to Commissioner's update. Let's see, I attended the Hospital District Board and the Rural Fire Board meetings last week.
I attended the multiple Board of Crime Control meetings. We had a Mako District meeting in Augusta, Hospital District meeting, and several community meetings. I also want to commend Rotary on their Slice of Summers. All three were successes this year. So that's it.
Yeah, I attended the Mako conference in Augusta and inspection with the BOR and the silos campground. Otherwise, just business as usual.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just before moving on as part of the update, I presented these last week after our discussion with Steve McCullen, the Trust Board, and I have the hard copies. I sent you email copies, but basically what they are is Trust Board minutes from last November and last February, showing that the Trust Board was working and engaging Jerry Grabentz with the Rec Board on this whole finalizing the land acquisition project with BOR. So I just want to submit that for the record so that any further accusations can be laid to rest. And there you go.
They're not gonna be laid to rest is all I have to say.
So move on to the approval of minutes for August 13, 2018.
A move to approve is submitted.
Is there a second?
I don't.
I have a question, I guess, maybe public comment. We had a meeting here Thursday night at the Hospital District Board, and then I was notified Friday that one of the citizens who had been here had left a notebook on the floor, like right over there. Do you know if it would have gotten picked up and where it would be if someone found it? Would it be like a lost and found somewhere?
If I may
Yeah,
She was down here, I suggested she call Missy Cox and see if
Okay.
Missy had picked it up.
Kate had, okay,
Mhm.
okay, thanks.
is there a second for approval of the minutes? All second. Motion been made and seconded to approve minutes August 13, 2018, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same,
No,
motion carries. Let's see, postcard from Veridesk.com for active workspaces. Letter from Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks. " 2019 Brucellosis proposed annual work plan. Public comment will be accepted until Monday, September 17th, 2018, 5 p.m. U.S. Department of the Interior, letter to confirm the health and safety compliance review and inspections for concessions at silos. Bureau of Land Management, Highline Division of Oil and Gas. Selling of federal oil and gas leases in 102 parcels of federal mineral and future lease sites. Another letter from the Department of Interior. Confirm the health, safety, and compliance review and inspection of your concessions to be held on August 16, 2018 at 1 p.m. That was last week's BOR meeting. Public Land Management, Highline Oil and Gas. More gas and oil leases for sale in the Highline area. Broadwater, Missouri Water Users Association. Response to your letter dated July 20th, 2018, the Broadwater, Missouri Water Users Board of Directors would like to discuss your request for financial assistance to repair Tossin Dam Road at their next regular meeting, which is scheduled for September 4th, 2018. The decision will be made at that time and you will be notified. Claims, payroll claims, total of $198,635.87.
Move to approve payroll in the amount of $198,635.80.
no second.
Motion been made and seconded to pay claims and set amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same, motion carries. WIC satellite programs for Jefferson County and Marr County need to be signed.
That's a task order we have with DPHHS and supports public health. I'll move to approve.
No second.
Motion been made and seconded to sign contracts with WIC programs for Marr County and Jefferson County. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. claims in the amount of $39,881.02.
I'll move to pay the approved claims in the amount of $39,881.02.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to pay claims said amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. We have a set of claims in the amount of $24,294.11.
Can you restate the total, please?
$24,294.11.
I'll move to approve those, or pay those approved claims in the amount of $24,294.11.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to pay claims in said amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. HIPAA compliance 2018 for healthcare professionals. And U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Statistics Division's U.S. Census Bureau. Invitation to participate in the 2020 Census Participation Statistic Areas Program. Do not miss your once per decade opportunity to review and update census tracts. So do we have a contact person for this?
We generally put that to Nicole, and we do have designated census places, which is the census tracts. That's Wheatland, Winston, Toston, Rayersburg.
So we forward this to the planning then?
Yeah. Should go through Ann and then to Planning and Community Development Department.
You want them in the envelope or not?
No. Thank you.
We have one other item that was in the mail, was the repairs to the Silos Recreation Facility. $408.98 on one and $1,215.90. Is this is to be please reimbursed at JSJ, which is our concessionaire out there, so is this our responsibility?
It is, the Silos has a sinking fund, it's a enterprise, or a, enterprise fund, just like the solid waste department. So 10% of what she collects, or JSJ collects, for the concessionaire property, the BOR property, campgrounds, docks, gazebos, goes into the sinking fund every year, and then that is only can be used for repairs directly at Silos. It can't be used for road, for the rec board, for anything but Silos. So, yeah, we can actually reimburse those from that account. And she gives us a report in March. Last year it was about 7,000 that she put into it, so there's plenty to cover that. We're gonna set up the same accounts, like the Silos for the softball fields, golf club, and the rod and gun club with the BOR land acquisition project.
So we'll have to get a claim made for that then.
Yeah.
10-15, Bill Berkland and Robert Pescia Associates approval to submit a grant proposal for FAA grant to pave runway. This is a grant, competitive grant that would fully pay for the repaving of the runway. You have to apply for the grant. And it would, let's see, project would take place in 2020, I believe, 19 or 2020. I guess we'll need approval to sign the application for the grant.
So moved.
I'll second. And friendly amendment to the motion that we hire Bill Berkland to write the grant on behalf of the airport board and county.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Bill Berkland's submitting a grant for the pavement of the Townsend Airport. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. I believe it has to get scanned and sent back to Bill.
All right.
Let's see, our next item up is 10:30 is Public Works Solid Waste Interlocal Agreement. Does anybody have anything before then, or?
I do. One board that I forgot to mention is that the Elkhorn Restoration Committee met last week. And I went to that meeting, and what we're working on, our comments are due next week for the forest plan revision. And here's some talking points. I do want these back because I scribbled all over them. But what I would like to do is put this on the agenda for next week. At least put a letter together, maybe not as detailed as this group did. This group is, as you know, our collaborative. Most counties work with collaboratives. It's made up of representatives from the different federal agencies, Forest Service, FWP, BOR, BLM, but then also NRCS, DNRC, and then we've got Mark's Lumber, local folks, Rancher, Tom Williams chairs, Al Christofferson is on this. And so what they did is they went through the forest plan revision section by section, and these are their comments. We went through them in our last meeting, and I'm bringing those back to us. I think the commission needs to make sure that we have comment in, and if we don't have standing should something happen. If we do, we have standing. So I would like to put that on the agenda for next week and have a letter addressing some of those issues. I started the ones that I thought were important that applied directly to Broadwater County, aside from the collaborative. So I would be happy to send that to you via email and let you review it. And then if you have any questions, we can discuss it next week.
Yeah, I'd like to get a copy of this. And I don't know if they addressed it, but I would also like to add that, I don't know if it's a personal, or if the commission would support it, is to have them stop obliterating all these roads the way they've been doing. And to allow burnt trees to be cut down instead of letting them stand there and rot. And dead trees.
Yeah, those are both addressed in there. They have to address it in such a way that they can actually get projects done rather than just end up in litigation with some of the folks that like to do that. But yeah, they address both of those in there, so I'd be happy to incorporate, I'd take their language and incorporate it in a letter on those two things.
a copy of these, if you send it.
Yeah, I'll forward it to you. I have it from Al via email. And then, I'll also include in an email all the talking points that they
Okay.
provided that my chicken scratch.
Would it be possible for me to get a copy too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, could we get copies of those comments, because that, I think that is a big deal.
Mhm. And then the other thing is, I talked with our federal partners on the FLAP. It's a Federal Lands Access Program. Do you still have a few minutes? And I'd like to sit down, Mary left, but I'd like to sit down with Mary as well. We need to have a meeting on that. What they have is a questionnaire. They'd like to go through it with us and just make sure that Broadwater County has a plan for completing our portion of it. Once they're comfortable with that, they can okay us to go ahead and get started. We won't have the funds now for 2 extra years. It was supposed to be a project for this year. It's gonna be 2020. But we can go ahead and get the engineering started so that we're shovel ready. So I will schedule that and with Mary, but just give you a heads up that that's coming. And I think that's it. And that's the Western Lands Office, I think, was the one that does the flap end.
In a couple minutes here, Mary take off when she was here.
She meant to make some copies of the form that
Oh,
Corey gave
okay.
out to her.
The one in,
If I can just have a couple more minutes, Corey went to go make some copies for me,
okay.
so.
Everything came down to this.
I'll give you a copy of the, and I'll give you a copy of this one.
So what's the official word on the chapter that covers it, set fire to the, just north Daniel Road across from Silos Bar?
What, I guess I just got that.
Oh, well, his tire came off and it was dragging him behind me and sparks set off a grass fire just north of our house there.
Oh.
But then he took off, as I heard the local gossip, rather than even call it in or go to bar call it in, he took off running toward the Silos campground.
I'll go for that.
I was curious, I said, that's strange.
Yeah.
got a call from Tri-County's attorney who wants to be here, and he's running the meeting. So, we can start and drive on and see what happens.
Okay.
Is it okay if I just go ahead and start then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your patience this morning. So what you have in front of you is the final draft of the interlocal agreement with Lewis and Clark County. There are a few items that they changed in there just to, because some of the language was a little bit confusing regarding dates. You might recall last time that I was here talking about the interlocal and just recommending that we begin that conversation with Lewis and Clark County, that I propose a 1-year trial on this. Now, and then I got back and I got to looking at the RFP that we sent out to facilities to submit back to us. And the cost per ton was based on a 5-year agreement, not a 1-year. And I did not realize that. That was my error. What Lewis and Clark County did, and so I did talk to them about that, because that was just an oversight on my part. What they did is they based this interlocal agreement on a 3-year contract at the rate that they had proposed to us initially for 5 years. So it's $26 a ton for 3 years. There is a termination clause in there, but that is at the end of the 3-year period, is when we would either terminate or extend this agreement. There is also a severance clause, and that's basically if it's found by a court to be invalid. So this agreement will terminate on June 30th, of 2021. So we would start, as soon as the decision, if the decision is to proceed with the interlocal, we would start as soon as that and start using Lewis Clark County landfill for our disposal services. And you'll notice on the last page of the document, attachment A, these are the requirements. They did put in requirements for our staff, and that would be that Broadwater County staff would have to sweep out the transfer trailers. That's to avoid litter along the route, maintain the tarps, and then abide by all traffic laws. So when I first had talked about this and was looking at the mileage, the difference in mileage, the only thing that's going to change is our loaded truck will have to drive a mile further. We cannot go down Lake Helena Drive. Let's see, is it Lake Helena? Yeah, Lake Helena Drive to the landfill. There is that 14-ton weight limit on a mile stretch of that. So we're going to have to go beyond that a mile and take that next turn north and get back on, I cannot think of it.
Is it Valley? I think it's
Valley Drive.
Yeah.
And access the landfill from that direction, but on the way back we can come down Lake Helena Drive all the way to Canyon Ferry Road. And I don't see that having a huge impact on costs for this agreement. What that 3 years gives us, the 3-year agreement would give us an opportunity to establish a relationship with Lewis and Clark County It would give us the opportunity to work out any, any issues that we have with transportation or how we offload at the landfill or, just to work out the bugs in the system because this will be a change for personnel out there. But my formal recommendation is that we proceed with the interlocal agreement and adopt that as proposed in the agreement document that you have.
Is there any public comment? Commissioners have anything?
I will just comment that I am gonna vote for this. And I know it's legal. I know it's done all over. I just have a personal opinion, that government should never co-opt, private business. That we should support private business where we can, and that government should never take over for private business what they can do. So I'm not convinced we're gonna save money, so I look forward to being proven wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I will look forward to seeing those reports and running comparisons. But again, I am gonna vote for this because I know it's legal. You've done a lot of work, your board has done a tremendous amount of work, thank you, John. But I'm just sharing with you where my personal feelings are, but that can't come into play in making county decisions. So,
Thank
you'll
you.
have my vote.
Thank you.
And I wanna thank you also for double checking on those dates.
Mhm.
I appreciate that.
Yes, it was confusing.
So we're basically locked into this thing until 2021. And at that period, we can give a 90-day termination notice if we're gonna get out of it at
Right.
that point.
Yeah,
We
so
can't
prior,
get out of it until then.
right,
Okay.
right. So prior to, it would be by the end of March that we would, of 2021, that we would have to let them know that we want to terminate the agreement.
What will be the effective date of this agreement? Will it be as of signature?
Yes,
So would our 90 days start 3 months from that date back, which would be closer to, what, May?
no, the 90 days would start, so the 90-day termination is based on the end date. The end of the agreement duration, which is June
Okay.
30th of 2021.
Okay.
Couple questions. So right now, we're doing month to month with Tri-County, is that correct?
Yes.
So, and I haven't been heavily involved in this, but like, so do you know if this has been presented to the Clark County Commission? This agreement?
I believe the interlocal has been presented to the commission, and their attorneys, if their attorneys have not completed their review, they were in process.
Okay. So, we'll have to figure out that transition period.
Mm-hmm.
So, whoever signs it last, that's probably when it goes into effect, but I would recommend we do a transition period of 30 days or 60 days, whatever,
Okay.
to make sure everything works out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so as I read this, tell me if I'm reading this wrong. Will we transport just from Broward County straight to Lewis and Clark County
Yes.
landfill?
Yes.
Will Lewis and Clark County personnel do any transport from our transfer station?
No, they will not.
It'll be just our folks doing
Just,
it?
just us.
Okay,
They would require a permit from the Public Service Commission to transport our waste in their vehicles.
Lewis and Clark,
Lewis and Clark County would be, yes.
okay.
And Lewis and Clark County does not, they don't haul, they don't have the transport vehicles to haul. The city of Helena, does the transportation.
Okay. And so I've done a lot of work on this, on a different aspect of it, just for the commissioners, everyone's knowledge. So I met a couple different times with Jack Connor, who's the attorney for Tri-County, who I think is gonna be here. He left a message with my office if he's running late, but there were two things that they were concerned about. But, I mean, I just generally think they were not wanting to lose the business, so that was what they were focused on. But one of them, and I provided a memo here, and there's a bunch of copies on the table if anyone wants it. One of the issues that they had said was that, under public works contracts requirements under Montana law, that we were required to do basically competitive bidding like we did last year, or earlier this year, before we could enter into an interlocal agreement. So I spent quite a bit of time on this, and this memo here, I don't agree with them at all. I think it's very clear in Montana law that two local governments can directly negotiate to basically work together to provide services, and that's the purpose of the interlocal agreement law. And so this memo is just outlining that the process we're going through with Lewis and Clark County does not require us to go back and rebid this prior to forming an interlocal agreement. Now, if we were doing it like we did last time, where they were presenting a bid, then yes, we would have to go through the bidding process that's under Title VII for county contracts. So that's item one. Item two is, Tri-County is concerned that somehow this interlocal agreement will turn into a way in which the city of Helena's personnel will end up transporting solid waste outside of the city limits of Helena. The backstory on that is that Tri-County and the city of Helena had some lawsuit way back when. They settled it in 2001, and I think what was happening was the city of Helena was trying to go outside of the jurisdiction to transport solid waste and was gonna go through the PSC licensing process. That was not successful. The result is, though, that they have this settlement agreement from 2001 in which Tri-County is concerned that if the city of Helena got involved in somehow transporting our waste, they would violate it. And the obvious question is, how would have the city of Helena do that? Well, the city of Helena and Lewis and Clark County have some cooperative things they do on solid waste, so there's kind of an extension of that analogy to say that somehow the city of Helena might end up transporting our waste. So I think it's the plan where we transport our waste directly there, I think takes away any concern there. So, just wanted, I guess, to make that clear. I thought, and I've reviewed this a couple of times, I thought we specifically had it in here where it said Broadwater County personnel will transport solid waste to the Lewis and Clark County landfill. But I just can't find the language today. So if you can help me with that, I think it would be helpful to make sure that is in black and white. And then the last thing is, you know, anytime we do an agreement with another party, it's really up to the parties to set the rules. And would it make sense to go back to Lewis and Clark and say, this is a 3-year agreement, however, we should have a 1-year look? That if at the 1-year mark, it's not working for either party, that we'd have a chance to get out of it. Would you feel more comfortable with that?
Yes and no, and I'll tell you why. A couple of things here. So, as a former DEQ employee, these are landfills that I inspected regularly. I don't foresee any issues. I don't, based on that experience. My concern about the 1-year agreement, and this is a conversation that I had with Eric and Audra, was that the RFP was based on 5 years, and that's how we were able to get the $26 per ton tipping fee.
Okay.
And that's how Lewis and Clark is able to, because they would be getting our waste, that's how Lewis and Clark County is able to lower their tipping fee to that same rate for Lewis and Clark County residents. So if we went with the let's sit down and look at things in a year, we can do that at any time within the 3-year period according to this. But we can't get out of this agreement for 3 years. So if it's not working, we can go back to the interlocal and see where we need to perhaps make some changes, but we're not going to be able to get the $26 per ton rate, because again, that was based on the 5 years of getting a minimum volume of our minimum tonnage from Broadwater County.
But who says we can't? That's what I wonder.
Lewis and Clark County. So this was, they could give us instead of the $26 per ton rate for 5 years, they were able to look at look at everything financially and said that we can do it on a 3-year contract. We can do that, and we can bring the rates down for everyone if they had our garbage for 3 years. But for a year, certainly, we could enter into a 1-year interlocal agreement.
No,
but
and I'm not saying a 1 year, I'm saying we have a termination opportunity in 1 year.
Mhm.
Either party does if it's just not working out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's something I can talk to them about. I suspect that that's not going to be, that it may adjust our rates.
oh, I see.
That's my concern. And it would be really easy to add in attachment A that Broadwater County staff will transport Broadwater County waste to Lewis and Clark County.
So last thing is, I did speak late Friday with Charlie Lane, he's the deputy county attorney in Lewis and Clark County. He knows we're doing this. He has not himself personally reviewed this yet.
Okay.
So I would say if you guys decide to vote today to approve it, it's probably gonna be he might come back with some other revisions or whatever, so it might be like approval, but then we do a final approval once it goes through their process.
Okay.
If he suggests any language, but, other than that, the issues that are in the memo, I've talked to him about those issues, in my opinion on them, and as far as everything else, there's no red flags that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And Mr. Conrad is here.
Yes, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Okay.
So commissioners, if you'd like, I can go back to Lewis and Clark County, have them add the stipulation in attachment A that Broadwater County will transport all Broadwater County waste. And I can also talk to them about the ability to review and terminate if necessary after a year. And I can report back at the next commission meeting if you'd like me to.
I think for sure, for me, having the language about the employees,
Mm-hmm.
If it's in here, it's implied,
Mhm.
both in the contract
Yes.
and attachment A, but having it clear
Right.
wouldn't hurt anything.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it pretty much says here, but on the other hand, what if, nobody was able to take a stuff over there? And Lewis and Clark would come in and say emergency type things, or,
I hope that doesn't happen. Fortunately, what we have at our disposal is we have 3 departments working together now. So we have staff from another department that if we ran into a situation where no one was available, that we can work that out. But that's a good point. I believe as long as it was our trailer and our transport truck, it shouldn't be a problem. It would be a problem if it was Lewis and Clark County equipment doing that.
oh, yeah, I see on that part.
Yeah.
Mr. Connor, do you have any comments before we go here?
Yes, I guess just generally, my client is still concerned about this process being a way to bypass the public bidding requirements. And not just as a legal requirement, that I think this has to be put out to a public bid and awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, but I think as a matter of good governance, the way to get the best price for the service is through a public bidding requirement. And I think, given the current budget situation in Broadwater County, it makes sense to get the best price possible for this. And I don't believe this interlocal agreement is that best price for the county, because it does not take into consideration the additional transport costs. And Broadwater County is going to be spending more money going further to the Lewis Clark landfill than to my client's landfill. And I'd be glad to answer any other questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Cheryl?
Mr. Delter, which entity prepared this interlocal agreement?
Lewis and Clark County.
Any other public comment? Any other commissioner comment? So I guess we will entertain a motion.
I don't think we have anything to vote on yet. I think we voiced our support for Mary to proceed, but I'm not comfortable making a motion until we have the final document in front of us to vote on.
It would be helpful if we knew that you guys were provisionally approving the process and the idea pending final language and final document. I think that would be helpful in terms of, just working with them and getting everything moving along. My guess is they haven't shown it to the commission yet, and they're probably waiting to see what you guys are doing. So if they're able to say the commission is, if you guys are moving in that direction, I think that would be helpful in terms of moving them to presenting it to their commission.
So I'll repeat what I said before, barring any major changes. Despite my personal feelings, I will vote for this interlocal. So you can take that to them, if that helps.
And I would also vote for it with the 2 changes that we mentioned.
Yeah, I'd say go ahead.
Okay. All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So Mary, one other thing, are we still doing Toston Road tomorrow, Toston Dam Road?
Actually, I was wondering if we could do it Wednesday afternoon. TJ's is not available tomorrow afternoon. I would like him to be there.
We have a Board of Health at 1, right?
I think that was canceled.
Oh, was it?
I think so.
Okay.
We'll have to double check,
I
but
should be able to do that Wednesday
Okay,
afternoon.
I would love it if all the commissioners could make that and see the great work that they did out there.
Wednesday at 1 o'clock?
That will work.
Okay,
So I will make those arrangements then and send you a meeting notice.
sounds good.
Okay, all right. Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
I'm gonna take off, but do we have a board of health coming up anytime soon? Because I know that the Winston Tire thing, we gotta deal with that at some point. Has it been scheduled yet?
And I thought that we rescheduled for this Wednesday.
Well, maybe we did, we'll have to double check that, I don't know.
I think we did, we'll have to talk about, I thought that we rescheduled from the 15th to the 23rd.
Okay, you may have.
Because we had a district meeting she wanted that, so we rescheduled it.
I saw an email that said the meeting was canceled. I'm not sure
Okay,
what the details are.
we'll talk to Janae and I'll let you know.
I'll follow up later today.
Okay.
Thanks.
So next up, 11 o'clock, Allison Costco Extension Agent, monthly update.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are we today?
Good, and you?
Good, I think. Yeah,
Good.
the rain's nice. Even though the guys with hay are probably complaining a little bit, it's still really nice to have the rain.
Have you recovered from the fair?
Well, kinda. Yeah. I mean, we kind of gotten through. Oh, that's not a good one. Oh,
Give me that one.
they're all like that. That's the only good one. I don't know why. I didn't even. The top one was good, so I guess maybe you'll have to share. I made a lot of copies for everyone, but here, this one's good too. You guys can share over there. See what's going on with our copier. So we're fair. I guess that's the big thing that's been happening since last month. It is, even though it's only a few days, it does take longer to get ready and to recover. So, I started doing that a few years ago just to kind of show how our fair's been growing and changing. And those are statistics just for the 4-H program. And as you see, we had a record number of participation, number of 4-H exhibitors.